everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching today. I thought today I'd do something slightly out my comfort zone, which is gel plate printing. Here I'm showing you that I've got a range of acrylic paints, and I would say that with jelly plate printing, really just use what you have. With gel plate printing, I find that the best thing is really just to have a go. Now, I am using acrylic paints today, but you can use your inks, you can use things like alcohol inks, but that's not my forte. You can do things like image transfers. There's lots of different things that you can do on the gel plate. And I thought it would be fun to use some of this parchment paper, which is a Jelly Arts product, to make some collage paper to use with my Maramy Small Arts collage book, and maybe some of my collage soup with some sort of steampunky type images. So on my next video, which will be probably a few days after this one goes up, I will be using some of the collage paper that I create in this video to use with those in a journal page. So keep your eyes peeled. Here I'm using the stencils, so I've used a variety of stencils. I will list as much as I can in the description box, but really I would say just have a play, use what you have, use the stencils you have, use the paints you have if you want to do jelly plate printing, because that's the best way to really practice and get better at it. So I tend to not use too much paint. I've got a right mixture here. I think this time I'm using the distress paints, which I've had for a long time. And you will see a bit later on in this video why it's important that you use your products. Because I do have a few issues. So there are different ways you can do your gel plate printing with your stencils. You can put your stencil straight on top of your paint and lift through the stencil. You can use your stencil as sort of almost like a stamp by dabbing it into the paint and then lifting a print. You can put your stencil onto the plate and put the paint through the stencil as well. So there's lots of different ways. I wanted this first part to really just be about playing about with the paints, playing about with the stencils and seeing what I could make. Now, you're not always going to like every print you make, and I certainly don't. I'm sort of got that scrap paper to the side of me as well to make sure that I'm just cleaning off my brayer a little bit. And I'm not overly worried about making sure my plate is clean between each print. In fact, sometimes the bits that you leave behind make a really nice sort of extra bits to your prints. So here I'm using some metallics. So I've got metallic paints, I've got Dina, Wakley, I've got Dylusions, I've got Hobbycraft, I've got Distress, I've got some Rowney Syestem 3, which I've had for many years. So I'm just using up what I've got. So I'm using a Brayer from Spectrum Noir, but I also do have Speedball Brayers, which are nice and soft as well. So really it's, use what you have. So in a moment, I think, oh, this is one of my struggles where I really find that some of the two red paints are both dried up. Now, this is what I mean about using what you have, especially with acrylic mediums. Eventually, they will dry up. It's just a fact. Every time you're opening them to the air, they are drying out a little bit more. So the best way to not waste your products is to use them, and I have learnt that lesson, and I will learn it again in a minute, as you will find. So those two had actually dried up in the tubes in the pots. Now this one had run out, so that was fair enough because I have used that. It was a gold one and I've used it a lot. Now I then get the silver, and when I squeeze it out, it's just a clear liquid. And what's happened there is it's been sat there so long that it's actually split totally. Now I shaked, and the same happened with this one. I shaked, but I think they had just totally split. So they were unusable. So I had to go back to another one of my golds. It's funny because it was the two silvery colours that had both done that. So whether that's something to do with the pigments that are used to create silver, I don't know. I'm not a chemist. So here I am still making. Now this turned into my favourite of all my prints. I really liked this one. It had a really distressed, old, gilded look. So that is the one that you will see that I will now decide to add extra to, because once you've done your jelly plate printing, you don't have to just keep doing layers and layers of jelly plates. You can then add other things. So I'm now adding some more stenciling on the top with a contrasting colour, and I'm using my stencil brush and just to add a little bit of extra detail. So, and this parchment paper, actually it is fairly thin, but it is very, very robust. It's had multiple layers of paint on there. So here I am, I'm now going through the different prints that I created, and some I will add more things onto in the future, but this is the one that I'm going to use to complete with some stamping now. I'm using my own Make a Mark stamp set, which I will link in the description box, and I am using Archival inks because I want them to be waterproof when I'm sticking them down with my matte medium. So I'm just using a few colours. From what I remember, the colours I picked out and I use are Ground Espresso, Evergreen Bough, and Plum. I also did pick out the Wild Honey, but I'm pretty sure I didn't use the Wild Honey. This is the trouble when you do a voiceover after the event. So I just wanted to add some extra texture and pattern on top of my print. And then, as I say, the next video that I make will be using this alongside, I'm thinking I'm going to use little personas from Marta, because that's a nice steampunk industrial type vibe going on. And I will make a journal page where this becomes a part of that page, and it's just fun sometimes to create your own papers as well. And where it's on the parchment, I'm hoping it'll be thin enough to lay down nicely as a collage paper. But you could do this on a thicker card stock. Generally something smooth tends to work better on the gel plate, but there we go. So thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you soon.